Whenever I was looking at schools, I knew I wanted to go to a Division II school. I knew I wanted to make sure that it was a faith-based, and just make sure that I wasn't going to be a name or a number, but rather be a name. And Chowan checked all of those lists for me. So my parents always say that you're going to be able to find the best crowd in certain places and the worst crowds in certain places. At Chowan, I've definitely found an awesome Christian faith group of friends that I've been able to do just awesome things with. We did an awesome revival out here, and I actually was able to preach out here right behind me at our first ever revival. I was able to do this with a group of friends as well as Miss Mary, our Reverend here on campus. Just truly amazing experiences and things that I never thought I would be able to do, especially as a student. The entire revival was student-led, from the music to the preaching to the altar calls to the praying. Everything was student-based, which again I never thought I would be able to do, but Chowan has given me the experience to do those things. So as I said, I am a ministry chaplain here on campus, and going so far away from home, my family is currently in California, so I basically went from West Coast to East Coast. Kind of my mother figure here on campus is Miss Mary. Whether I need something, I need a shoulder to cry on, if I want snacks, or just basically vent to someone, I know that she is right there. She also has an awesome big dog, probably if he's sitting next to me, like right there. His name's Max. So if I ever need like my puppy love from a big puppy, I always have that, and Miss Mary's always got my back. So really appreciative for her and everything that she's done for me. So like I mentioned earlier, I wanted a faith-based community. I wanted a faith-based school, not only so I could be around equally yoked students, but again, have the ability to grow my faith and bring others with me. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that God says, is to be a disciple for Him and bring people to Him. And like I mentioned earlier, we were able to do the revival, a 4-day revival, and one of the nights was out here. I was able to not only preach, but able to sing. Being able to get up in front of my peers and sing beautiful songs for the Lord was just a really awesome experience. And again, something I never would have gotten if I didn't come to Chowan. I've also been able to get involved in other organizations. 2 weeks ago, I was able to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a research conference. I was able to give my research that I did here on campus to a nationwide group of audiences. It was a really great experience. Not only was I able to give my research, but I was also able to be a delegate and vote on different things that are going on in the Alpha Chi organization. All of those things have been able to happen due to Chowan.
I was born and raised in Murfreesboro. I'm a first-generation college student. I was on campus a great deal. Well, I was a student here in the mid-60s, which was an interesting time to be an older teenager in the United States. The traditions I remember the most, of course, are the more social ones. Homecoming in the fall, which would always include what I thought was a majestic parade down Main Street with lots of bands and floats. And there was also celebrations in the spring to include May Day. May Day was another opportunity for popularity contests, if you will. Girls in their beautiful gowns and a ball. There was always a dance in the athletic center, which of course at the time was the building that now is the Hawk's Nest. It also included on Friday a crowning of Miss May Day. Every Wednesday, everyone who was majoring in any type of business course, on Wednesdays we all wore business attire. That meant suit and tie for men. That meant dress, high heel shoes, or suit for women, and that was every Wednesday. 25 years after I graduated and my career took me other places, but I came back to Chowan as a staff member and stayed here for 20 glorious years. I wish it could have been 40. Staff, faculty, and students all truly did care about one another, lifted one another up, always supportive. I remember asking Dean Frank Lowe, who was my immediate supervisor and such a pleasure to work with. I'd been here about a month, and one day I said, Dean Lowe, does everybody here always treat each other this well? And he looked at me and he thought that an odd question, and he said, well, yes. So I found it very refreshing that there was a place left on earth that everyone worked together as a team, everyone came together for the common good, and that was most refreshing.
Jay Howell, I'm the Assistant Vice President of Information Technology, so I'm in charge of the Information Technology Department. I was looking to move closer to my parents and saw Chowan had a job advertised, and it was for a network administrator, and I came and applied. Then I got this job, and instead of traveling all over Eastern North Carolina, I actually went to and from my mom's house every day, and I was able to help her right until she passed later on, so it actually worked out really well. We've actually had a couple of things that are really under the covers. People wouldn't know about it, but we went to what's called a distributive architecture, in which we had dual areas in which data could go around the network. That stopped us from having a single point of failure, and that was really huge. And connecting all the buildings together, because the buildings, obviously you've got to have that network access now to do what we do in 2023. And that was actually a big deal. You know, it had been started right before I was hired, and then every building we brought online since then, probably 10 or 15 buildings, we obviously had to connect with fiber. So they were the big ones. I could even add, when we made everything on campus wireless, was a huge thing, because that was where we could see the world going. And it's actually, you know, our kids are used to that. I mean, wireless is now just like when you and I were in school with sewer and water. It's just a utility that people expect. Actually, the person I was hired by was Dr. Andrea Eason, and she had been after me from day one about getting my 4-year degree, because I had a 2-year degree at the time. And it was one of those days and one of those things in which you just went, why not? And so I decided to do a business degree with a emphasis in information systems, which, you know, matched what I was doing. And in the course of going to school, I would say probably Dorothy Wallace was one of the big ones. She was a very difficult teacher. I'll tell you a funny story. I used the resume that I used to get the job at Chowan, changed it to meet what I thought Mrs. Wallace wanted for her class, and got a B- on the project. So that tells you a little bit of what type of standard she held you to. And probably Dr. Andrea Eason also was a big, you know, she's the one that taught me into it, and she taught some of the computer courses at the time. And she was a big deal. But I really enjoyed, believe it or not, the religion course with Dr. Frank Lowe. You know, one of the things about going to college is you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and that was not something that I would normally be looking at, and I really enjoyed that when I went through that. Another kid that I stay in contact, and you probably know this, is Russell Dudley. And Russell would have been a marginal student at any college. Russell owns several businesses in Durham now. He's a very successful person. Probably would not have the opportunity to do some of that if it hadn't been for Chowan. And Chowan actually took a kid that was extremely rough around the edges and turned him into a productive citizen. And that's been probably the best thing. You know, I'm 62 years old now. A lot of these kids I probably wouldn't have talked to if I saw them on the side of the street, if I hadn't been working in higher education. And one of the things I learned was you do not judge a book by its cover. These kids are awesome. All they need is a chance. And we've turned a lot of kids out of here that would not have been as successful and would not have been as productive members of society if they hadn't had Chowan as an option. I care passionately about what happens at Chowan and how Chowan does, whether it's successful or not. So when you're like that, when somebody asks you to do something that's not in your wheelhouse, you step up and you say, yeah, I'll help you out, whatever you need. Maintenance says, hey, I need help doing this. Yeah, I'll help you out. So what has happened is I've come from being an employee to being a stakeholder. Is that a good way of putting it, I guess? Because I have a vested interest in Chowan and how she does going forward.
My name is Elaine Myers, and I'm from Ahoskie, and I was a student at Chowan in 1959 and 60, and I presently serve on the Board of Trustees since 1989. I very definitely remember some very good traditions at Chowan. I remember chapel. Chapel was required. You had to go and had a certain seat to sit in, and your attendance was checked. And so it was 2 or 3 times a week, and so you got to see your partners beside of you all the time. I was sort of shy when I left high school. I took some speech classes under Mrs. Whitaker, and Mrs. Whitaker had a beautiful way of just making you feel confident, and I really appreciated that because I never dreamed that I would be able to do public speaking, and on the various things that I have been involved in my life, that very definitely has been a very important part of my life. The role of faith played a lot with me because I came from a very strong Baptist home. And most of the activities that I was involved in at Chowan, like YWAs, which was Young Women's Auxiliary, and also the BSU, the Baptist Student Union, and choir. I enjoyed so much the Baptist Student Union, the weekend revivals that we had, and I participated in that. And then I enjoyed the choir very much, and particularly the opportunity to have the chance to visit other churches and go on the choir tour. Well, my roommate, we are still very close and we correspond with each other. She lives in Raleigh, and I have enjoyed being able to have a relationship with her through these years. And some of the local people that attended school, I often see some of them and we enjoy talking about Chowan and our days at Chowan. At one time, a slogan that was used here was that Chowan taught you how to make a living, but also how to live. And I think that was it was a very important part for me, and they prepared me well enough that I had no difficulty entering a 4-year school, and I also entered graduate school also. So I thought that Chowan prepared me well, and I thought it was because of the teachers and the people who were here cared about each one. And I remember how that they instilled a confidence, and they were able to sort of believe in you and make you believe in yourself. I have so much respect for it because I really feel that it gave me wings and caused me to be able to fly. And I appreciated all that was done here for me.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My eldest brother grew up with the head coach here for the women's lacrosse team, and I was looking around for some other colleges to go to, and she reached out and she offered me a scholarship to transfer, and so it all just kind of worked out. I've come to like it here, really. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't led here. A very lost student. I was going through some tough times at home. My dad going through health issues. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to be in college or go into the military. And so I had a choice whether or not I was going to be shipped out to basic training or go back to school. I came down to that decision and I chose to go to school, and for what I know, it's been the best decision I could have possibly chosen because I'm happy here. I do want to say it rebuilt a love for going back to school, because last year, my old school, I felt so miserable there. I felt like I didn't belong there. And now that I'm here, like, I'm actually happy here, and I feel like I'm thriving more than I did.
What led me to Chowan would be Probably the environment of how it still feels like home. It wasn't a big change for me from high school to college. It was kind of the same thing. And it was the first college me and my mom toured together when I was in the 9th grade. I guess my favorite and one that really just sticks out from the time that I was here would be the Honors College, like haunted house that we do every year, that we try to do every year and raise money for Honors College. It's fun, you know, putting it up and taking it down and being with everybody that you're in class with for several semesters with all the classes that are required for Honors College. Well, there's only 3 major professors in the education department, and I guess it would be them, Dr. Tinkham, Dr. Crosby, and Dr. Earp. They really make the education department fun for us and make it fun for like learning and stuff like that. You know, they really care about whether you succeed or not. It's sometimes like here you just get overwhelmed with all the work and stuff that you've got to do. That's any college anywhere. But the professors are here to help you. Like, they will work with you one-on-one, and that really helped me feel like that things were really gonna work out for me. Like I was gonna get through this, you know, through the stressful times, because I remember one year biology, Dr. Gill, he like helped me so much on biology. I mean, I really felt like I was not gonna pass that class, and he pulled me one-on-one and we worked together and I scraped by with an A. At first, I did not want to come here. Like at first I didn't. I was like, is this really like what I need to do? Like, do I need to go away from home? Because everybody around home was like, you need to go off and find yourself and make sure you can be on your own and stuff like that. But I mean, eventually it just kind of felt like home, and it was just what was meant to be for me.
I was born in Heidelberg, Germany, as a military kid, Army brat. Out of all the schools that asked me to join them, to come to their campus and all that, Chowan was like the one that didn't just send me a letter or email. They actually made that extra step and gave me a personal phone call, and I visited the campus. I loved it. The person that made like a big impact on me, I would have to say, is Miss Awuni. As when I first went and saw her, I was selling these little treat bags for Halloween for FBLA, and Miss Awuni really took me under her wing and showed me around campus and everything, and honestly has made me want to do better. Faith, I feel like everything that I'm doing now is because of God. I've gotten more involved inside the community. I've made some big connections with leaders here inside of the community and everything, and I feel like that the reason that has happened is because of God. I've been able to kind of inspire some of the people around here in Murfreesboro by getting involved inside the community and everything, and they talk about how they love to see me here being involved in the community in general. So I feel like God has been kind of using me to get the school and the rest of the community, I guess, more connected. It's evolved a lot. That's really what I have to say. As I do more and more, it just keeps getting better and better, and it makes me fall in love even more with this campus.